fellow Toastmasters.
Good morning.
My grandmother on my mother's side grew up in Orlando. My mother also grew up in Orlando. I've lived here for 63 years. I would like to say I was born in Orlando, but my mother married a military man and traveled with him wherever he needed to go. I have a sister that was born in New York. I have a brother that was also born in New York, but several years later on a different deployment. I have another brother that was born in the Philippines. Me, I was born in Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. My father passed away at a young age, and before I was 2, my mother had to move back to Orlando with the 4 children. She moved back to be near Mom. She was going to need some help. Now, it might sound boring to live in the same hometown for 63 years, but over these years I've had the opportunity to travel. This shapes who I am and how I think. And my journey continues. About 4 years ago, I married for the second time. My lovely wife Rachel and I went to Seward, Alaska on our honeymoon. We stayed in a little place called Cabin on the Cliff. It's a mountaintop resort sticking way up, overlooking the Seward Marina and Resurrection Bay. It's a beautiful place to stay. While we were in Alaska, we visited Kenai Fjords National Park, the home of Exit Glacier. And as we drove to visit the glacier, we started seeing signs. 1900, 1920, 1940. And come to find these signs were showing where the face of the glacier used to be and how it was receding. 3.5 miles later was the current face of the glacier. No one will ever convince me that global warming isn't real after seeing that. Now, the scale and the beauty of the glacier was astounding. But one of the things we remembered most from that trip was a sign in the parking lot. When we got out of the car, there was a big sign that had a map, showed the trails, talked about some facilities, and it mentioned warning bears in the area. It said if a black bear approaches you, stand tall, talk loudly, wave your arms, let them know that you're not dinner. If a brown bear, a grizzly bear, approaches you, drop and play dead. If he starts to smell you, try and stay still. If he starts to eat you, fight back. Wait, if he starts to eat you? The amazing thing to me is we didn't go get in the car. We decided to walk on the trail up to the viewing spot for the glacier anyway. Now the truth is, as soon as we started, I picked up a big rock and I carried it with me all the way up to the top of the glacier and back. Didn't drop it till we got back to the car. Now I mentioned how long I've lived in Orlando, but I did spend 6 years in Gainesville, the University of Florida. I got a master's degree in architecture and I returned to Orlando. After 20 years practicing commercial and corporate architecture, I can point to many buildings in Central Florida that I worked on. I think when I drive through town and I tell my wife, hey, do you know that I work? Yeah, she said, yeah, you've told me about every time we pass it. After that time, my journey continued. About 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to work on several projects for Walt Disney World. Shortly thereafter, I was recruited by Universal Studios to work on their new theme park called Island of Adventure. My team worked on Marvel Superhero Island, worked on Spider-Man, the Hulk roller coaster, Dr. Doom, everything in that lane. And out of the 3 years, besides the fact that I had 2 young kids and it seemed like Dad's job was pretty cool, one of the things that I remember was everyone on site had an ID tag. Mine said, Bruce McMillen, Superhero Architect. Still love that name. Wish I could keep it in my business today. Sometime after that, I teamed up with some friends who were doing work for theme parks in China for private developers. I'm Director of Architecture and one of the primary presenters to our clients, so I traveled to China a lot. Over the last 8 years, I've taken over 80 trips to China, stayed for a week to 10 days. That's why you'll see me missing some meetings. You'll hear more about my kind of interest in future speeches, I'm sure. But I make a lot of presentations, and they're easy for me. When I'm talking to the clients, not a problem at all. I have a written agenda in front of me. I've got 250 slides of fantastic architecture of fantasy environments. Start showing slides, and I can talk about them for days. No problem. But the most interesting part that makes it easy is I talk in 30-second increments. I talk for 30 seconds, and then my partner has 30 seconds to translate what I've said. While he's talking, now did I need to clarify anything I said? What am I going to say next? It's easy to make speeches in little increments when you have time to think about where you've been and where you're going. I don't want to speak for SAS, but I joined Toastmasters to learn to present without 250 fantastic images behind me, and to talk in more than 30-second increments. I'm looking forward to all the help that each one of you will give me along that path as I continue my journey. Thank you.